What's up, guys? Welcome back. Great news. Dr. Fauci is resigning. I know it's not till the end of this year. However, that's okay. He's going to be gone, and that's what matters most. So I want to start off with this quote. For those of you that know, I am ultra anti-Marxist. Like, probably one of the furthest away from supporting the Marxist ideology in any circumstance, in any level thereof. I mean, I study it, which is funny because the Marxism, so you don't know what Marxism is, you don't know what communism is. I am very, very, very well versed on the concepts of communism, socialism, Marxism, Leninism, whatever you want to say. But Adam Smith in The Wealth of Nations, and this isn't direct wording, but says, the butcher, the baker, the brewer do not act out of kindness, but out of their own self-interest. That's an important term, and it holds true, whether you believe it or not. So, a lot of people think that The Wealth of Nations and Adam Smith, like he basically created some theory that was the modernized form of capitalism. He did not. All The Wealth of Nations is, in reality, it's an observation of human behavior and interaction. It's an observation of society and how people in the society interact with each other and how the markets interact and take care of certain things and behaviors. That's all it is. It is nothing more than his own observations and then him putting his opinions on why these things happen. So, Marxists seem to believe that human behavior that we know it as of today is only it's only the result of our current systems, and that people are inherently good. Well, that can't be true, because if people were just inherently good, and when I say people, I'm talking about everybody. If everybody was just inherently good, then we wouldn't have serial killers. The reason I'm bringing serial killers up is because serial killers seem to be able to come from all walks of life, all different circumstances, and they're still crazy in the head and kill people. I know that sometimes crime is the result of individual circumstances. Absolutely. So can certain systems drive certain crimes? Yes. But in reality, no matter who you are, you act in your own self-interest. This goes back to the philosophical question of, do you, let's say, give $1 to a homeless person because it makes that homeless person feel good and helps them, or because it makes you feel good? A Marxist would say that you give the $1 to the homeless person because it helps them, right? It benefits society and the community. Society is nothing more than individuals. And to say that an individual acts only to benefit other individuals is false. And to say that we can have a society where individuals will act only to benefit all other individuals is it's just crazy. If that were true, then how come the same people who believe that, let's say, nationalizing an industry, oil and gas, or healthcare, right? Let's have a universal healthcare system, a one-payer system through the government. And if the government was the end-all, be-all, or let's just say the government was the best at providing healthcare to the United States, then why aren't those same individuals lining up to become IRS agents? Why aren't they lining up, okay, to receive a competitive salary, maybe a little bit lesser of a salary than other alternatives, to do a job that they believe is truly in the benefit of society, if there was no personal gain? Why isn't it that they won't volunteer to go around and make sure that every American household is paying their fair share of taxes to make sure that these programs that will benefit society, in their opinion, are funded properly? and that there's always the money there to make sure that these programs that are supposedly in the best interest of society, these government programs, are funded. Because they know in the back of their minds that that's not true. The problem I have is people think that we need to get rid of private ownership. We need to get rid of your ability to own a business or control the means of production, as they like to say, which is a joke because labor is a form of capital, by the way. And therefore, if you take away the means of production, labor is part of the means of production. Therefore, you're taking away control of your own labor instead of just putting someone in a position where their labor can be subsidized by the business and paid for, right? See, in capitalism or a free market, and a free market with no slave labor, by the way, which we do not have here in the United States. Some countries do, but not us, whether people think so or not. If I work, I am voluntarily going to work and accepting a pay for my labor. Is it going to be as much as what someone else is getting? Well, that's between my negotiations and the person that hired me, but it's also my ability and my voluntarily accepting that position. When the government is getting involved, or you have a form of public ownership, let's say, I have no choice. The difference between a monopoly in the government and a monopoly in a private sector is that if a monopoly exists in a private sector, believe it or not, I still can voluntarily do business with that monopoly. I mean, Bass Pro basically has a monopoly, let's say. If I don't want to go to Bass Pro, I just won't go to Bass Pro. But if the government has a monopoly, I have no choice. Why? Because the government has the power to coerce. The government controls our money supply, controls the laws, and if I don't do something the government doesn't like, they put me in jail. If I don't do something that a business doesn't like, there's just no interaction. Who cares? Eventually, monopolies in the private sector will be weeded out through competition. The only time they won't be weeded out is when the government sets regulations that basically favor that monopoly in the form of barriers to entry that'll inhibit any competition coming up that may be more favorable to the marketplace. Monopolies can only stay in power if they can leverage an entity in the form of the government, all right, and the government's ability to coerce society as a whole in the individuals in society. The problem with people that I interact with that don't agree with the free markets or they don't agree with capitalism, whatever, is they either, if you're a Marxist, you support like no government, no money, no state, right? Which is a fucking flaw as it is. But like our socialists who support a very, very, very strong government over everything and take it out of the private sector's hands. Okay, so you want the entity that has the power to take every freedom away from all individuals because you think it's going to be what's best for society, and you think that that entity is not going to act in its own self-interest. Governments try to grow everywhere around the world. Our own government in the United States is doing this right now. It's always trying to grow. The difference is the checks and balance system that keeps it in check and limiting it from having too much power. But they are okay with a coercive, powerful entity having a monopoly instead of just a private individual or private business having a monopoly. One that is far easier to have power over. It just blows my mind. It blows my mind where we're at in society. And I hate saying that term society because really it's individuals that they believe it is okay to take away the private ownership and the freedoms of individuals in an attempt to benefit society freedoms. But you can't take away individual freedoms and make society more free. Okay, You take the means of production away from the bourgeoisie. Well, what happens to the bourgeoisie? Do you just kill them? You purge them? Well, that's what Stalin did. Or do they just become a proletariat? And therefore everyone's a proletariat? Who becomes the new bourgeoisie? Well, probably the government or the people who are higher up in the chain that have more control than others. See, you cannot eliminate state, you cannot eliminate class, you cannot eliminate money. The money thing's a joke, because all money is it's a medium of exchange that makes markets more efficient, right? Because barter systems aren't efficient at all. But to say you're going to eliminate class, that's a joke. To say you're going to eliminate state, that's a joke. Because someone has to be in position to make sure that that society that you want to operate, your utopia, okay, is operating the way it's supposed to operate, right? Who's going to uphold the laws? Who's going to uphold that standard of living? The only way to really get close to that utopia is to have a complete free market environment and to allow people to act in their own self-interest. Who cares what the intentions are of an individual? Who cares? Who cares what Jeff Bezos' intentions are? I don't give a fuck what Jeff Bezos wants to do. If he wants to create something like same-day shipping because he's going to make $1 trillion, good for him, because I'm going to benefit from the same-day shipping, as will anyone that uses the service. And the people, if it was no benefit to society, or when I say society, if there's no benefit to the market, he won't make $1 trillion. So it's a very simple equation. If my intentions are to make $1 million, well, where am I going to get the $1 million from? Well, if you're the government, you just steal it. But if you are a business, you have to offer a service to the marketplace to get them to give them the $1 million in exchange for the product or the service that you're offering them. So to say that the government is going to do it better, no, the government's just going to steal it better. That's all. So I just want to hit on those points, and we'll be back on tomorrow. And remember, hit like, hit subscribe, and don't give in to this big government bullshit that the Biden administration is pitching you.